Circa 360 BCE, ancient Greece. The philosopher Plato writes of an epic battle waged long before his time.
This battle, according to Plato, took place about 9,000 years before his time. Plato writes about this battle between the Greeks and a very highly advanced civilization from an island called Atlantis.
Atlantis is this huge island that is populated by Atlanteans who are incredibly prosperous, wealthy, have huge armies. So with all their wealth and prosperity, the Atlanteans are arrogant, they're proud, they feel they can expand and conquer others, and this is what brings them into contact with the Greeks when they invade their territories.
Atlantis has basically been provoking the Greeks. They've been trying to expand their empire, and the Greeks finally decide it's time to respond.
The nation of Atlantis is a military juggernaut. They are technologically advanced. They've got the better military, better tech. They've got this beat. Plato writes about this battle as if it's like a true tale of good versus evil. And in the end, the underdog Greeks end up winning the day. To make matters worse for the Atlanteans, after they lose the battle, they are then struck with even more tragedy. As the story goes, Atlantis is hit with these natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, that ultimately sink the entire island nation to the bottom of the sea, never to be seen again.
Today, Plato's work remains the only known ancient record of Atlantis.
The big mystery here is this a true story? Was there actually an island nation called Atlantis?
Plato is our singular source for the story of Atlantis, and he's using it almost as a parable. But he references real places in this story that makes it sound like it could be a historical account.
It's a widely held belief that if Atlantis is real, it's somewhere at the bottom of the ocean. But in 2008, new research turns that assumption on its head.
In the mid-2000s, Michael Hubner is a 40-year-old German software engineer, but his true passion is trying to find and locate the lost city of Atlantis.
Hubner scours Plato's writings for any geographical features associated with Atlantis. The mountains, the plains, the concentric islands, the water, the temple in the center of it.
In Hubner's analysis of Plato's writings about the geographical features of Atlantis, he comes up with 51 characteristics of Atlantis that he puts into a computer program and then applies to a map of the Mediterranean region to see if there are any places that match those 51 characteristics.
So Hubner basically lays out a grid with these 400 little squares and looks for which attributes each of those squares might have so that he can zero in on the places that are most like Atlantis, according to Plato.
Months into his research, Hubner's program reaches a shocking conclusion.
One of the squares on his grid lights up as a place that has a ton of these geographic features, but it's in a place that you would never expect.
The most likely candidate that his program comes up with is right on the edge of the Sahara Desert, a region called Souss Massa outside of Marrakesh, Morocco.
This place just looks way too dry to be Atlantis, but Hubner insists that this is the place.
Hubner believes that there was a great earthquake in the North Atlantic and a resulting tsunami that swept up the coast of Morocco before sweeping back.
It's not an island in the literal sense that Hubner is talking about, but the word Nessos that Plato uses in his writing comes up, and this time, another interpretation is created.
The word Nessos can be expanded beyond island into peninsula or into beach. So Huebner takes an even more expansive definition of that term and says it's any region that's bounded by mountains or an ocean. The region that Huebner is talking about, Sus Massa, is surrounded by mountain ridges on two sides and the Atlantic Ocean on one. So he suggests this one region of Morocco fits the bill as Nessos. Tragically, before he's able to continue or finish his research, Huebner dies in a bicycling accident. But other scholars are continuing his work and looking in the same place and hoping to prove that this Moroccan desert location is the unexpected location of Atlantis.
When it comes to unlikely locations for where we should be looking for Atlantis, there are people who say we should be digging not in sand, but in ice. In 1953, Hapgood actually writes to one of the most brilliant men in Western history, Albert Einstein. And he tells Einstein about his shift theory, and to his great surprise and delight, Einstein writes him back, and he tells him that he finds his theories actually really very convincing.
Hapgood decides to put out his theories into a book in 1958 entitled Earth's Shifting Crust. And he even manages to get Albert Einstein to write the foreword for his book.
When Albert Einstein writes the introduction to your book, that's a pretty strong endorsement from one of the greatest minds of all time. Suddenly, people are going to take Hapgood seriously.
Hapgood contends that these incredibly fast changes in these land masses would lead to these incredible natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, melting ice caps, mass extinctions. Anything that we would be looking for would be buried underneath the ice. That's why he contends we can't find Atlantis.
From about 1960 on, Hapgood's career takes kind of a weird twist. He meets up with a psychic medium by the name of Elwood Babbitt. And Babbitt channels various historical figures from antiquity, everybody from Jesus to Mark Twain. And he records these with Hapgood in a series of interviews.
This really casts a shadow on Hapgood's scholarly credibility. That this is the direction his career takes makes a lot of people look quite differently at his earlier work, despite the acclaim it may have at one time received from Albert Einstein.
But a 2012 book called Atlantis Beneath the Ice, researcher Rand Flemmoth revisits Hapgood's ideas about the Lost Kingdom.
He goes ahead and takes these maps of Antarctica from pre-9600 BCE and lines them up with maps from Athanasius Kircher and makes an exciting discovery, which is that the shapes found on both of the maps are a near perfect match, proving that Atlantis is Antarctica.
Some people will still hold that as climate change continues and the ice on Antarctica begins to melt, once and for all, we will find the lost ruins of Atlantis beneath the ice.
The reason why people get excited about looking for Atlantis is because it really is the world's greatest unsolved mystery. Did it exist? Was it all made up? And if somebody finds out whether that was true or not, it's going to be one of the most amazing discoveries of all time.